At 17, Chen Bang discovered a limit he couldn't easily bend. Color blindness closed the door to military service, but it didn't dim his appetite for risk. What began as small, sometimes reckless bets, running a coconut juice agency, trying his hand at theme parks, riding the dizzying highs and lows of China's property boom, turned into a single-minded mission that would remake an entire corner of healthcare. Today, Chen Bang is the entrepreneurial force behind Aier Eye Hospital Group, a company that grew from a provincial experiment in specialized medicine into one of the world's largest ophthalmology chains, and a business empire that remade how millions of patients across Asia and Europe see the world. Chen's early life is quietly cinematic. Born in 1965 into a military family in Changsha, Hunan, he left the predictable path of state employment for the uncertain world of private enterprise. His first ventures were not glamorous: small distribution work, provincial deals, local services. By his late 20s, he flirted with great wealth during China's property boom, only to watch fortunes evaporate when the market turned. Failure, however, became a pattern of education rather than finality. He bounced from setbacks, learned fast, and kept looking for an industry where scale, repeatability, and demonstrable outcomes could convert operational excellence into lasting value. That search found focus in the late 1990s. Chen began experimenting with professional ophthalmic clinics, not as a narrow medical project, but as a scalable business model. Eye care has two practical advantages for an entrepreneur. Procedures are high margin compared with general outpatient care, and repeatable standards of treatment let a centralized, brand-driven network ensure consistent quality across sites. Chen saw an opening to build something that combined clinical credibility with commercial rigor. Specialized hospitals organized like a modern retail chain, with central training, shared protocols, and a business model that married patient experience to medical outcomes. What followed was not overnight magic, but methodical, sometimes surgical expansion. The company Chen founded, Aier Eye Hospital Group, standardized ophthalmic care within a corporate framework, training programs, referral networks, and a tiered system of hospitals and clinics that allowed the group to operate everything from flagship tertiary centers to smaller, high-volume community clinics. The public markets eventually took notice. Aier went public on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange, and the capital raised through listing fueled faster rollouts, acquisitions, and partnerships. The IPO was a milestone because it gave Aier the means to pursue scale on a national and then global stage, while signaling to clinicians and investors that specialized private healthcare could be a replicable business model in China. Chen's strategy married two elements often at odds in healthcare: a clinical-first narrative to win trust, and a rigorous centralized operational playbook to deliver efficiency. Aier invested in its own educational programs, partnering with universities and founding specialty training to ensure a pipeline of clinicians aligned with the company's protocols. It built standardized clinical pathways for common eye procedures, creating a predictable patient journey that reduced variability while increasing throughput. For investors, this combination translated into a straightforward value proposition: predictable revenue from elective and semi-elective ophthalmic services, plus the capacity to scale by opening new units and acquiring established providers. Acquisition was a second pillar of Chen's growth play. In 2017, Aier took a bold step into Europe by acquiring Clinica Baviera, one of the largest eye clinic groups on the continent. That deal did more than add geography. It gave Aier access to European clinical talent, regulatory know-how, and a broader reputation as a global healthcare operator. The purchase underscored Chen's ambition. Aier would not remain a domestic success story. It would compete on the world stage, integrating disparate markets under a unifying operational model. Through acquisitions and greenfield expansion alike, the group extended its footprint beyond China into Europe, Southeast Asia, and beyond, moving from dozens of clinics to hundreds of hospitals and eye centers over a relatively short period. Chen's personality as a founder matters to the story. He is not a physician by training, but an operator who treated healthcare like a service business that could be disciplined, standardized, and scaled. That outsider posture sometimes attracted skepticism. critics worried that corporatizing healthcare risks commodifying patients. But Chen's answer was to double down on measurable outcomes. Aier invested in research, in clinician training, and in metrics that tied clinical quality to brand reputation. For many patients, the brand's promise was clarity: a recognized name, consistent standards, and access to specialized procedures that previously required travel to major urban centers. Growth brought inevitable complexity: governance challenges, public scrutiny, and the need to manage cross-border regulatory environments. Turning a healthcare startup into an international hospital chain forced Chen and his team to professionalize corporate governance, create localized management teams, and reconcile the sometimes conflicting demands of investors and clinicians. There were also broader structural issues in China's healthcare landscape that Chen's strategy exposed and addressed: a chronic shortage of specialized clinics outside big cities, variable public hospital capacity for elective ophthalmic surgeries, and rising demand from an aging population with vision-related needs. Aier's expansion tapped those unmet needs and, in the process, reframed part of China's private healthcare sector as an investable, scalable business. Financially, Chen's ascent was dramatic. Over the 2010s and into the 2020s, his wealth climbed into the ranks of the world's richest healthcare entrepreneurs, a reflection of Aier's market penetration and the financial market's valuation of specialty care. The company's public listing in Shenzhen provided liquidity for early investors and capital for continued expansion. But as with many founders who scale rapidly, wealth was volatile, tied closely to both market sentiment about private healthcare and the operational performance of a sprawling clinic network. Still, by the early 2020s, Chen had secured a place among global healthcare magnates, the symbolic payoff of a strategy that combined clinical focus with industrial-level expansion. Chen's story also illustrates a central tension in modern healthcare entrepreneurship: the balance between profit and patient care. Running hundreds of clinics across national boundaries requires an emphasis on operational efficiency and margin optimization, a natural pressure point for debates over quality, access, and medical ethics. Chen's response was pragmatic: reinforce clinical governance, invest in education, and sustain a brand built on outcomes. For many patients, Aier's promise of consistency has been an improvement over fragmented local options. For skeptics, the corporate model still raises questions about long-term incentives in healthcare. The company's global footprint is a testament to that ambition. What began as a regional effort to create standardized eye care matured into an international platform offering a range of ophthalmic services: cataract surgery, refractive procedures, retinal care, pediatric ophthalmology, and optometry. The multi-tier hospital model Aier developed allowed it to place the right services in the right places: high-complexity tertiary centers in large cities, mid-level hospitals for common surgeries, and community clinics for screenings and optometry. This architecture let the company optimize capital intensity while ensuring referral pathways that kept patients in a single coordinated network. Chen's approach to talent mirrored his operational playbook. Rather than relying solely on acquisitions to buy market share, Aier invested in clinician education and incentives that encouraged physicians to join a network while retaining clinical autonomy in practice. That balance, corporate standards without suffocating clinical freedom, has been difficult to maintain but central to Aier's credibility. Investing in training, joint ventures with universities, and regional centers of excellence was as much about long-term sustainability as it was about immediate clinical throughput. Yet the founder's arc had earlier chapters that remind us how fragile fortune can be in fast-developing economies. Before Aier, Chen experienced failure in businesses that seemed promising: theme parks in Taiwan, distribution ventures, and the property roller coaster. Those setbacks were formative. Each taught the value of repeatable systems, of minimizing exposure to single-market shocks, and of building enterprises that generate cash from reliable services rather than speculative assets. When Chen pivoted to healthcare, he was effectively choosing an industry where outcomes could be standardized and scaled, and where consumer trust could be converted into repeatable demand. Beyond industry mechanics, Chen's rise says something about ambition in modern China. the ability of an entrepreneur from a provincial background to build a national, then international, champion by relentlessly focusing on operational excellence. His path wasn't romanticized luck. It was iterative learning plus disciplined execution. He took lessons from failure, how to control unit economics, how to create referral networks, how to align clinicians with corporate incentives, and turn them into organizational routines that could be copied. What does the future hold for Chen and Aier? Healthcare globally is shifting towards specialization, data-driven treatment, and integrated delivery networks, trends that favor groups with standardized protocols and strong brand recognition. Aier's next chapters will likely involve technological integration, teleophthalmology, AI-assisted diagnostics, deeper international partnerships, and further professionalization of governance to satisfy diverse regulators and public scrutiny. The company's ability to sustain clinical quality while chasing growth remains the central test. Scale too rapidly without quality controls, and reputation suffers. Prioritize quality without capital discipline, and expansion stalls. Chen's record suggests he understands both levers. The real challenge is doing both at once on a global stage. There are broader social implications too. In countries where public hospitals are overstretched, private specialty chains can fill gaps in access and reduce wait times for elective procedures. But they also force policy questions. Should private providers receive incentives? How do regulators ensure equitable access? And how do nations guard against profit motives undermining public health goals? Chen's work is part of that conversation, and how Aier navigates regulation, pricing, and public trust will influence policy debates wherever it operates. Chen Bang's story is, at its heart, one of reinvention. From early business experiments and the crash and rise rhythm of personal fortune, he reoriented his energies toward an industry where standards could be systematized and value could be scaled. He built a company that thinks like a hospital but runs like a chain, and in doing so, he reshaped an industry, creating predictable patient journeys, training a new generation of clinicians, and building an international platform for ophthalmic care. Whether you view the outcome as a triumph of industrial-age entrepreneurship applied to medicine or as a cautionary lesson in the corporatization of care, it is undeniably a major chapter in how modern healthcare networks form, grow, and influence lives. For viewers wondering what to take away, Chen's life is not a straight line from obscurity to glory. It's a study in persistence, a lesson in learning from failure, and an example of how an ambitious founder can turn an often overlooked specialty into a global business. It's also a reminder that when healthcare becomes scalable, it changes not only markets and wealth rankings, but patient experience and public policy, sometimes in ways that are hard to reverse. Chen Bang didn't invent ophthalmology, he industrialized its delivery. And because eyesight is one of the most visceral human senses, the stakes of that industrialization are both deeply personal and profoundly systemic.